right, well, welcome to the next installment of the Corsair project here. And as you can see, the plane's already starting to look quite a bit different than the unboxing video. I'm actually working, unfortunately, I kind of got ahead of myself a little bit in terms of working on the aircraft without producing some video content. So my apologies for that. However, most of what I've done is just a lot of busy work, and I can kind of cover it here in the video. So one of the very first things I did once I got the aircraft out of the box is take all the decals off. And the reason why I want to do that is because I'm going to repaint the aircraft. It's not going to look like this when I am done. I wanted to get rid of the trainer squadron look. I wanted to backdate the aircraft to 1943. So it's going to need all new graphics from Cali Graphics. So I started with removing the decals. And the nice thing about this Corsair is it's painted, which means the decals come off relatively easy. I was going to do a video on removing them, but I've learned from my P51 project, you just got to grab an edge of it, either with an X-Acto knife or your fingernail, and just give it a pull. The decals come off really easily. What's great is the decals are adhered to the paint, and the paint is adhered to the foam. So when you peel the decal off, you're just peeling the paint off the foam, and you're not damaging the foam surface at all. With the exception of two spots on the aircraft, and that is right here up on the backside of the fuselage. The white lines that you see here are bare foam. They are not decals or paint, they are bare foam. So when you peel the decal off, in these spots right here, you will damage the surface of the foam. So that is, I unfortunately should have been paying a little bit more attention to that, but I fixed it fairly easily. So with all the decals off the aircraft, the next thing I did is I have my can of Varathane, spar urethane right here. This is a water-based exterior, and I'm going to use the satin just because of the fact that satin paints tend to adhere other paints better than gloss. It kind of gives it something to stick to. So I went and added about 2 to 3 coats of this clear over all the decals that are removed. And the reason why that is I want to try to build up some of that surface a little bit and then sand it back down again. And for that I use an 800 grit to 1000 grit sandpaper. And all I'm trying to do is just sand some of the high spots of that urethane back off. So in the end, when I paint this, where the old decals will not show up underneath the paint. I did not do that on my P51 project. And if the lighting is just right, or if you're an eagle eye YouTube watcher, which I got commented on, you can see where the original decals were. So on this one, I'm using the spar urethane. You can use Minwax as well. And you want to cover those bare surfaces and then just kind of run your finger across it. And if you feel any drop in the surface from where the sticker pulled the paint off, or a rise in the surface, like where you get this, this foam here, you're going to want to take that sandpaper and just smooth it down. So once that's done, I kind of do a couple rounds of that and then just add a little bit more of that spar urethane because I don't want any paint touching bare foam. So this cowl area here, made sure I got this well covered as well. So I want to go through, cover all the bare foam, and what you're doing a couple things here. One, you're protecting the bare foam from the propellant inside the aerosol. We're going to be using Rust-Oleum 2X on this aircraft. It's a spray, and the propellant that is in the aerosol can bubble up and damage the foam if you get close to it. So I'm using this as a protective barrier on the bare foam between the foam and the spray paint. The rest of the aircraft, the factory blue and green, is a fantastic primer already, so that works really well. But I don't want any of this green to kind of bleed through the paint. The bottom's going to be white, the top's going to be dark blue and intermediate blue, and I don't want this green showing through, kind of ghosting its way through the top coat. So we're going to shoot this entire aircraft with dark gray primer, which will give us a good, solid, consistent base color that I can then go through and add the top coat. So we'll get into that a little bit more later in the project. One of the next things I did after the urethane is down was I wanted to fill some of the areas in. And the reason why I did that is because, remember, we're backdating this to a Dash A1. And the Dash A1 had 6 exhaust port exits on the very bottom of the fuselage by the cowl. The Dash 4 had these indentations both kind kind of at the 3 and 9 o'clock position on the fuselage, and as well as like the 5 and the 7 position down below. And that's where the exhaust pipes come out. And the E-Flite model does actually include some fake plastic exhaust pipes coming out of there. So I had to go through and pull them out, which, by the way, is a kind of a challenge because they're glued in prior to these cowl flaps being added. So you got to get a little creative on how you can remove those. Once the factory exhaust pipes were out, I just used some of this Red Devil lightweight spackling. And this stuff, you can pick up at any home improvement store. And this is just a great thing to have around. Unfortunately, I only needed about yay much of it compared to this tub, so this will get used around the house. And what I did there is I wanted to go in and I want to fill where those indentations were that the exhaust pipes came out of. Once they were filled, I sanded them until they were smooth, and then I gave them a coat of the spar urethane to protect the spackle, and then I painted over them. And the reason why I painted them right away was I just wanted to kind of get an idea as I moved it around in different lighting if I missed any spots that needed to be touched up. And of course I found a few, so I added some more spackling, sand it, and you just keep working that area just as you would a dent in your drywall, for instance. Just kind of work that area over again, and then once it's smooth, you are all set. So this aircraft, we already got that done. I've already sanded these down. I've also added a little pre-shading here with some black paint on the cowl flaps. And the reason why I did that is really more to do with giving me some extra definition on where the cowl flaps are. With it being all molded blank white plastic, it's difficult to kind of get a visual on where all the flaps were. So I wanted to go through and do that and make any adjustments as needed. So with that completed, I also went through and removed the main landing gear. Tires, the wheels and tires are gone because they'll get painted. I decided to leave the struts on because they'll actually be painted white along with the inside of the gear doors. So I've actually worked on that already. And you can see the cutouts down here at about the 5 and the 7 o'clock position is where the new exhaust ports will exit. And then I also made some additional cowl flaps as well. So there's quite a bit of pre-work that's going on here before we can even get to beginning to prime the aircraft, which will probably be the next video in the series. We'll actually be putting the coat of primer on. If you guys are paying attention real close, you'll notice that the wingtips have the lights already cut out of them. I'm actually going to add some navigation lights to this as well, and I'm going to make a clear cover for the navigation lights. So those are already cut out as well. I'm having the wires extended on that right now. They were about just a few inches too short. So we'll get the wires put in, and once that's done, I will recover up the wires on the bottom where the servos are, which are now exposed. And then we'll be ready to go ahead and wash the airplane down and go ahead and prime it. And we'll be using the Rust-Oleum 2X dark gray primer. And then once that is cured, we're going to go into how we actually paint the aircraft in that tri-coat US Navy scheme. So if you guys got any questions on some of the projects so far, by all means, feel free to ask and subscribe for the updates that are going to be coming more on this project as winter progresses. So thanks again for joining me for the kind of a messier part of the project right now as we peel off stickers, fill, sand, and clear coat things. It's not as glamorous as some of the other project will be, but this is how you really start to make a model look nice, and it's going to look very different when we are done. So by all means, if you guys got any questions, leave them below.